What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. I'm taking a look at two men right now who I most admire. To your right is Henry Jackson, who's also known as an amateur as Medley Jackson. You would know him as Henry Armstrong. He's to your right. To your left is Pedro Martanez, an outstanding and explosive Puerto Rican champion. We'll learn about both men in one moment, as they would mix it up in 1940. But let us get reacquainted with Henry Armstrong. He was born December 12, 1912, in Columbus, Mississippi. He died October 23, 1988, in Los Angeles, California. He was known to the boxing community as Homicide, as well as Hurricane Hank. But what most people don't know, he was also known as the Columbus Buzzsaw. Armstrong would be introduced into the Boxing Hall of Fame, 1954, and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. He would stand 5'5.5" and have a 67-inch reach. Armstrong had a fighting career record of 183 total bouts, 152 wins, 22 losses, with 101 knockouts. 1937 was a special year for Henry Armstrong. Not only would he have a record that year of 27-0, but he would have 26 knockouts as well. He would collect a featherweight championship belt from Petey Cerrone. That year, he would also take on a former junior lightweight champion. His name was Benny Bass of Philadelphia. 1938, he would have a record of 14-0 with 10 knockouts. Between December 1936 and September 1940, Henry Armstrong would have a record of 59 wins, 1 loss, and 51 knockouts. Now, the top names on his championship resume. 1938, he would take on Barney Ross, who was a stablemate, but Barney Ross was the welterweight champion of the world. Barney Ross would win that title from the babyface assassin, Jimmy McLarnin. They would mix it up 3 separate occasions, and Jimmy McLarnin would win his crown from young Corbett III. Henry Armstrong would also take on Lou Ambers that same year, and he would win the World Lightweight Championship belt. Lou Ambers would pick up that crown from Tony Canzonieri, as these two men would fight for the vacant title. Henry Armstrong would end that Lou Ambers bout, New York's Madison Square Garden, the last 5 rounds swallowing his own blood as he pled to the referee to allow him to continue. It was a milestone, and it would secure his legacy, because Henry Armstrong would now become the only fighter in boxing history to this day to hold 3 titles, in which the way he won them of all times. He would win the featherweight championship belt. He would skip over the lightweight champion, Lou Ambers. Lou Ambers had other obligations. And he would win the welterweight championship belt, then drop back down. to the lightweight and challenge Lou Ambers for his title. He would defeat Lou Ambers, and he would win all the belts and hold them all simultaneously. Now, Henry Armstrong would begin his professional debut July 27, 1931. He would compete with Al Avino, who had a record at that time of 7-6-3. Henry Armstrong would lose his first fight. He would lose by stoppage in the third round. Now, he would lose the professional ranks, and he would leave those ranks to go as an amateur. He wanted to try out for the 1932 Los Angeles Olympic Games. Henry Armstrong at this time had a trainer by the name of Willie Meade. And Henry Armstrong would meet up with Harry Wiley Sr. And Harry Wiley Sr. would alter the fighting style of Henry Armstrong. You see, Henry Armstrong was a two-fisted puncher. But he didn't have rhythm, he didn't have timing. And that's what was missing from Henry Armstrong. At that time, Medley Jackson. Harry Wiley Sr. would correct all that. But he didn't have enough time with Henry Armstrong. So Henry Armstrong didn't make it on the 1932 Olympic team. However, what he learned from Harry Wiley Sr. was enough to get him on his way to championship status. Now, what was interesting about Henry Armstrong, he would take on fighters such as Perfecto Lopez, March 28, 1933. Davey Abad at the Olympic Auditorium, June 14, 1934. Baby Arizmendi, November 4, 1934, where he would win the Mexican and California State Featherweight Championship title. To take on Tony Chavez and Richie Fontaine, Perfecto Lopez, and Alton Black. He would face Benny Bass, Sefrino Garcia, Midget Wargas, and Mike Belois, Petey Cerrone, Pedro Martinez, Tibby Larkin, and Ernie Rudrick. Albert Chalky Wright, Paul Jr., Lou Feldman, Eddie Zivick. Would also take on Juan Zarita, Alberto Baby Arizmendi, Frizzy Zivick, Barney Ross, Lou Jenkins, Ray Robinson, Lou Ambers, Bo Jack, Sammy Angott. He would face Frankie Click and many of greats of his time. When Henry Armstrong met Pedro Martinez, he had a wealth of experience under his belt. Now, Pedro Martinez, he was born April 24th, 1914, in Puerto Rico. He died June 26, 1996. He was 82 years of age at the time of his death, and he would reside in Puerto Rico. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting both Henry Armstrong and Pedro Martinez. Both men were very respectful to me. Enough so that I learned a tremendous amount about their life end their careers through them. Pedro Martanez stood 5 foot 5 inches. He had a 65-inch reach. Had a record of 103 wins. Total bouts, 91 wins, 51 knockouts, 8 losses. And he was stopped twice. He had 4 draws. So he had 103 total bouts. I want to be clear. 91 wins, 51 knockouts, 8 losses. He was stopped twice and had 4 draws. He would win his professional debut, February 1st, 1931, over Antonio Melendez. March 23rd, 1936, he would take on Bobby Pancho, St. Nicholas Arena. March 27th, 1936, he would take on Aldi Spoldi at Newark Arena. May 15th, 1936, Leonard Delgino, New York's Madison Square Garden. June 8th, 1936, he would take on Frankie Click in Dyckman Oval, Manhattan. March 5th, 1937, Lou Ambers, New York's Madison Square Garden. July 26th, 1937, he would take on Wesley Ryan. Fought him at the Gilmore Stadium in Chicago. August 16th, 1937, Freddie Red Cochrane at Braddock Bowl in New Jersey. February 7th, 1937, Tommy Spengel. March 25th, 1939, young Peter Jackson. May 23rd, 1939, Davey Abad, New York's Madison Square Garden. January 24th, 1940, Henry Armstrong in New York's Madison Square Garden. Now he fought Aldi Spoldi in St. Nicholas Arena. And Aldi Spoldi would be the fighter that would take Henry Armstrong the distance in 1937. Armstrong had a record of 27-0 with 26 knockouts after he would face Aldi Spoldi. And Henry Armstrong and Pedro Martanez would mix it up January 24th, 1940, New York's Madison Square Garden. Henry Armstrong was 8 years as a pro, weighing 140 pounds. He had a record of 104 wins, 12 losses, 7 draws. He was 30 years of age at the time of this fight. Pedro Martanez was also 8 years as a pro. He weighed 144 pounds. He had a record of 91 wins, 6 losses, 4 draws, and he was 25 years of age at the time of this fight. Now, the referee was Billy Kavanagh. He would stop the contest 47 seconds into the 9th round. It was scheduled for 15. Martinez's corner had carefully examined him after he had been dropped for the first time in his career, twice in the 4th round and once in the 9th round, or once in the 8th round, Henry Armstrong had banged Pedro Martanez both to the body and head as he was pinned against the ropes. And Armstrong would drive violent blows to Pedro Martinez's body and head, driving him from the middle to the corner of the ropes. It was in his own corner that he would be moaning and groaning as punches would be violently thrown to the breadbasket, the ramius muscle, and the cartilage of his nose. Blood had splattered. Pedro Martanez was a warrior. It was not his desire to call it quits. It was the referee. It was in front of 19,157 screaming spectators. These men would draw a gate of $59,575 that evening. They will have a combined round experience of 1,367. 121 combined knockouts 224 combined bouts. The judges were Marty Monroe and Joe Lynch. Henry Armstrong had his hand raised. That was an exciting night between these two men. I just wanted to revisit that fight with you. Pedro Martanez doesn't often get as much credit as he should. He's an explosive fighter. I learned a lot about Pedro Martanez, not only through speaking to Pedro Martanez personally, but it was another fighter from Puerto Rico. And his name was Victor Valley. He was an explosive flyweight during his day. And I met him in Gleason's gym. He would train Glenwood Brown and many others. And he told me personally about Pedro Martanez. Told me about Cisco Escobar. But the conversation we had about Pedro Martanez, all positive. Sparred with him many times. He said Pedro Martanez was a hell of a fighter. And when I spoke with Ray Robinson, he talked about Henry Armstrong. From his perspective, he fought him in 1943. That was his last fight that year. And what was interesting about Henry Armstrong's respect from Ray Robinson began his debut as a professional October 4th, 1940. It's on the undercard of Armstrong and Fizzy Zivic. Ray Robinson had a tremendous amount of respect for Henry Armstrong. So much so that he wanted to get revenge after Armstrong would lose his welterweight championship crown to Fizzy Zivic. Ray Robinson would get that revenge. So thanks for listening. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. All great fights and all great fighters would never be forgotten on my channel.